is right, is correct for you. So, and let's see. Okay. So, if we haven't met yet, I am a human design analyst, teacher, coach, author, community builder. Human design has captured me hook, line, and sinker, and I have no idea where I'm going with it, but it's been a ride. I'm about to start my fifth cycle in the human design experiment, and I'm still confused about the trajectory of my life as you are, as we all are. And human design has helped me to understand myself in a way that no other system has shown and to finally truly love myself. So, this knowledge is real, it's life changing. I take it really seriously. Normally, I talk in more of a stream of consciousness style, but today I want to share this in a really specific way. So, I'll be referencing my notes a lot. And also, since we have limited time and I want to have enough time for Janaki especially, if you have any questions or thoughts or aha moments, just add them into the comments as you receive them, and we can talk about it during the mingle time if we have time, or we can carry the conversation over into the Wildman Human Design WhatsApp group, which I've placed the chat, or the link to join in the chat. Okay. And also just please, I know everyone's already muted and I appreciate that. So just, mute yourself for the duration until the end, until mingle time, and feel free to sit on the ground, lay down, wiggle your body, whatever your body needs. Everyone has a different way of taking in information. So yeah. Okay, so here's a little sneak peek into my energy that you might be feeling as I'm teaching today. For those that don't know, I am a projector aura type, which means that my aura deeply connects to other people's auras for their guidance. Because my aura type deeply connects, my strategy to interact with other auras is to wait for their invitation to connect with them. And when others invite me to interact, I have to decide if I will accept the invitation, and I do that best through the emotional layer of my aura. I am a 5-1 profile, which means I'm driven to deeply investigate everything that I'm invited into and that my emotionality has approved of. After I investigate, I share my perception with others who are often the strangers or the collective. I have 5 channels defined, 6 centers associated with those channels defined, and this means that everyone who interacts with me is experiencing the energies of those channels and centers, just like your energy is as well, and all of your colored and defined areas. I didn't realize that before human design. In fact, my conditioning was exactly the opposite of my definition, and yours is most likely too. So the rest of my centers, channels, and gates that do not have activations are undefined, and that is how I'm picking up on the energies of others. I'm receiving the energy, how I'm receiving the energies outside of me. And that's where I'm most sensitive and fluid and also intuitive. It's also where I've picked up the majority of my conditioning, which has led to the creation of my not self. And if any of that does not make sense right now, it probably will by the end of this talk. So, yeah, so today I'm going to walk you through the deconditioning, through deconditioning in the human design system, which was detailed by Richard Rudd, before he started Gene Keys. In his work, The 7 Years on the Wheel. I'm posting this. If you haven't received this guide or looked at it yet, I'm putting the PDF in chat. And so I received this document around 6 months into my experiment from Jonah Dempsey, pretty popular human design analyst whenever we first met. And it's been part of my experiment ever since. You know, I didn't really put too much stock on it until really the past year or so. This fourth year has been insane. So, which a lot of people also will talk about the fourth year. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, the fourth year, this guide has been a really big help for me in my process to kind of just understand what's happening. And so I have enough data on this guide that I feel confident in its validity to share it. It's helped me to be okay with not knowing where I'm going, and it's not talked about nearly enough. So I'm hoping that today's class is helpful for you on your deconditioning journey. And Maria says, how do you know when the year of 7 years begins? And we'll talk about that. And I also have a calculator that I built that I'll be putting in here as well for you. So, couple of disclaimers. As a 5/1 projector, and I'm also still really deep in the middle of my first round of deconditioning, I should say. Um, I would I like to give some disclaimers before I teach. So, number one, this is living revealed knowledge. If it clicks with you, 90% of what you think you know about yourself and the world around you is going to drastically change. Either way, your mind could be challenged during this presentation. Whatever is said that does not resonate or make sense today could click later, or it might click in a way that's specific to your understanding. But I trust that whatever I'm saying is exactly what needs to be said to someone listening at some point. The information comes out and lands differently each time it's shared, and it may not make sense at all until you're ready to hear it. So, the perspective I'm sharing is also based on where I'm at in my experiment, which could be drastically different in a few years. This knowledge is living and growing, and you add your energy into it, and learning it will add your perspective to the body of knowledge. In fact, the topic that today is a very experimental subject, and it's mostly contemplative, and it needs more people willing to experiment with it. So, thank you for being here. Before we explore the mechanics of deconditioning and deconditioning through the lens of alchemy and human design, I want to share a story that I wrote that explains deconditioning through a mythic lens called The Seeker and the Dragon. And I just put the link to the full story in my blog. So I'm going to just give you a little story. Once, oh, oh, thank you, Malvina. Okay, sorry about this. Um, I'm going to go ahead and tell you just a little bit of summary of the story and then the full details of what each part of the story, all the roles and the characters and the environment, everything, what it means is inside of the blog if you'd like to check it out. So, once upon a time, there was a fearsome dragon rumored to be guarding a secret treasure. Villagers tried to conquer it only to be destroyed. The dragon became a symbol of terror. In the same kingdom, there lived a seeker, a brave soul trained from a young age to defeat this beast. That seeker became a great warrior in training, but they wouldn't know their mettle until they faced the dragon. When summoned by the ruler, the seeker was given maps, data, and observations about the dragon, but study alone wasn't enough. They had to go on the journey. And when they finally reached the dragon, they found that it was not a monster but a mirror. The dragon said, I'm not your enemy, I'm your purpose. I gave you something to fight for, and I've helped you become who you are. When the seeker dropped their armor, the dragon transformed into a radiant guide. So I'll just read the last few lines of the story here. And it says, the seeker fell to their knees, overwhelmed. I thought I was fighting for treasure, they said. You were always here, locked within the dragon. The guide smiled. We are two halves of the same whole. Dragon and the seeker, shadow and the light. Together we are complete. As their hands touched, the seeker felt as if they awakened from a long dream. Their energies merged to become the vessel for creation and the force of balance and harmony. So, I have been a warrior, a seeker, a slayer of dragons, a rebel, a wanderer, a black sheep, etc. since the day I was born, and yet my dragon was perfectionism, people pleasing, shape shifting my identity for love or safety. And much more than that, too. But I never really felt like I was conditioned because I felt so different from everyone, so willing to go off the beaten path, always studying and learning and growing. But it wasn't until I started my human design journey that I began to gain the observer mind. And I'm now in the last phase of my fourth cycle, about to start my fifth. And in many ways, I feel like I'm just now starting my real life. Human design was the map to decode myself and the process itself and the world around me, but I still had to walk the path. So, to understand deconditioning, we must first understand its opposing force, which is conditioning. Conditioning is the absorption of everything outside of you as ordained by the program or the Maya. What is the program? The program is an intelligent environment that exists for creation and evolution. The program is filled with patterns of duality that allow us to interpret the wholeness of life. Duality is the foundational framework of our human experience, the interplay of opposing forces that creates the tension necessary for creation and awakening. Duality is how we exist as humans in this illusion we call reality, so that life can be creative. Human design shows how we are built out of duality, mind, body, conscious, unconscious, exalts, detriments, and it's all held together in our soul container, our aura. So, if the program is creation and it creates with opposing forces, what is the duality of creation? We can't say death. Life and death are dual in nature because energy can't be created or destroyed, only transformed from one to another. Even death is creative. We can't say dissolution because that force is serving creation, making it part of the creation cycle. We can't say stagnation because everything is moving in the quantum, if you looked all the way down to the atom level. So, what is the true opposing force for creativity? And that is homogenization, which is the energy behind conditioning. It's the current that pulls us towards sameness. Homogenization restricts diversity. It pulls or it dulls the vibrant spectrum of human expression into predictable patterns. All of our society systems, education, religion, workspaces are rewarding conformity. Homogenization comes in a lot of ways. Colonization erased indigenous ways of knowing. In factories, schools, offices, efficiency overrides individuality. Tribal groups like our friends, family, whatever, all of these uh, tribal energies have rules about how to be, whether spoken or unspoken, whether we know about it or not. And some homogenization is necessary. Communities need shared rhythms to function. And when conditioning aligns with our natural frequency, it creates harmony, but that's not inherently good. When it clashes with our design, that's not inherently bad either. Resistance creates diamonds, and the pressure of conditioning is usually the exact limitation needed to spark something entirely new. Homogenization and conditioning are built into the program as restrictions that build pressure until life force erupts into new forms. We are infinitely unique, but homogenization as the opposing force of creativity is pushing us into more uniqueness, into more of ourself, or not. And so, we are all born of a pure essence that is made out of stars, neutrinos, which are made out of stars. And that essence has a pure connection back to source. You can think of this as starting our lives as clear water, but as soon as we exit the womb, we are being conditioned by the doctors, the nurses, the hospital, the parents, siblings, teachers, society, the world at large. We are raised by people and in environments that are not us. So we are conditioned as something we are not. In human design, we call this conditioning, not self. Conditioning acts like dirt in the water, but it's clear dirt. We can't really see it, so we think it's part of us. The essence of our clear water hasn't changed. We just have to be able to see the clear dirt. Conditioning is the polarized force that allows us to experience who we are by experiencing what we're not. The essence, or as beings who exist in this system of duality, we have to learn who we are in order to understand who we're not. We all have not self. We wouldn't exist it because the nature of duality that is running the program requires a dual force. So, not self is not bad, true self is not good. They are the dual parts of our non duality, the whole self. We love our true self by knowing and loving our not self. And that's the reason human design exists, to allow us to understand our infinite uniqueness. The limitations of our environment condition us to be something we're not. You can think of the not self as the cocoon. We were all little hungry caterpillars once munching down on the conditioning of our parents, our schools, our churches, friends, dreams, traumas. At some point, the exterior of the caterpillar hardens to create a cocoon. It was always there, but the caterpillar wasn't ready to experience it. The cocoon becomes the incubator for something new and beautiful. This is the not self. When we start to love the not self, we decondition. This is the process. The potential of wisdom comes from conditioning, and the butterfly is revealed. So this is not a one and done thing. If we are human, we have not self as a requirement. So we're all in a never ending process of getting confronted with the pain and suffering of our not self and converting it into wisdom. We see the not self chart as a general understanding of where to work with the not self, but the not self is not just in our openness. Our openness is the most vulnerable to conditioning that can easily become your wounds, but it's also the source of wisdom when the deconditioning process allows those parts of us to be fluid again. So I won't go into the mechanics of how the not self operates here. It's something I teach a lot about in my course, but in a nutshell, human design shows how our body and minds are running on different programs while being contained in the quantum of our auric container. Our authority is trying to drive the vehicle of our body, but our mind is grabbing the wheel, convinced it knows best. When the body resists the direction of the mind, when the body resists the direction of the mind, it is, excuse me, it's sending the red flag. It sends a red flag to the mind. In human design, we call this the not self theme. The mind is a brilliant navigator, but a terrible driver. It's an amazing witness and a processing tool, but it's a terrible decision maker. When the mind surrenders to our authority, we start the deconditioning process. So now that we know what conditioning is, why we have it, how it works, we can talk about deconditioning. Deconditioning transforms our mind to be the witness observer of our true inner guide that is moving our form. Deconditioning teaches what surrender means, not just what we've been told or what we thought we knew. Because each conditioning process is unique, our deconditioning process is also unique. It's the process of lifting the veil off of our homogenization and our truth comes into form. So it's taking off the beige and adding back in your colors. So while there are many paths to awakening, the human design deconditioning process is unique because it typically starts with your first reading. Having someone else explain how your mind and your body are uniquely formed and held in the container of your aura allows your mind to see itself from another perspective, which can be quite jarring. And we call this the shattering. The shattering is the kickstart to your deconditioning process. So, human design offers tools to help us decondition. We all have an inner frequency that is leading us, that we can tap into, and human design calls this our signature and our not self theme, which is also called the signposts. These signposts have human words associated with them to help our minds understand the frequencies that we're feeling in the body. And when the body and mind are in sync, our aura guides us freely. When our body and mind are in sync, our aura is guiding us freely, and we experience our signature frequency, which is satisfaction for generators and manifesting generators, peace for manifestors, success for projectors, and surprise for reflectors. When the mind overrides the body and our aura, sends that red flag energy trying to get the mind's attention, that frequency, that not self theme is either frustration, anger, bitterness, or disappointment. Watching the frequencies in your body are going to lead you into decisions. Making those decisions from a place of awareness is how we decondition. So we do this by experimenting with strategy and authority, which is the foundation of human design. Strategy and authority are training tools for awareness so that your mind can connect to your inner yes or no about the people, places, or things that will either help you on your journey or derail you and create more wisdom for you. So there are four types of auras, each have its own path of least resistance to interact with other auras. We call that our strategy. Once that interaction has been established and there is a decision to be made, the actual decision is based on your authority, and there are 7 types of authority. Each person has one primary strategy and one primary authority for their design. Experimenting with your strategy and your authority is the training tool for the mind to start surrendering its decision making power. All along the journey of deconditioning, you will encounter new tools and resources and guides, methods, techniques, retreats, medicines, whatever. All of these resources are endless along this journey. And if you don't have an understanding of how to choose, you will be spinning your wheels and experimenting with a lot of inner resistance. If your strategy and authority, for instance, leads you to a metaphysical fair, it's probably not asking you to spend money with every single vendor. Following your strategy and authority will help you determine who or what you feel resonant with. If your best friend is starting up a retreat and you join out of obligation rather than heeding your inner call, it might give you some lessons to learn for the next time. Your deconditioning journey is going to be a wild ride, and you don't have to chase it or seek it. The path is going to come to you. You can just keep following your signpost frequencies and work with your aura strategy to interact with others and make decisions based on your inner authority. The more we honor our strategy and our authority, the more we transmute not self patterns and embody our unique frequency. This is how we decondition and awaken our differentiated expression, and this is how we gain awareness. Awareness is perspective. It can be found in your breath, in the present moment, in observing without judgment. Strategy and authority help us make better decisions, especially in our interactions with others, but awareness is a much bigger than decision making. Awareness is paying attention to the little things, letting yourself show up sad or broken, disheveled, and real. It's noticing what brought you joy as a child and allowing yourself to rediscover those energies, rediscover what your channels are trying to express in your design. It's noticing your body, what it feels like in any situation without spinning into stories in your mind that's trying to tell you what it thinks it's happening. To witness the not self is not to wage war on it. The not self isn't bad. It's just the loud signal your aura gives your mind to return to your presence. Um, it's inviting you back into witness mode. And what is witness mode? It is the part of your mind that is not the actor, but the audience. It's the mirror of your consciousness. It might come from stillness or movement, napping or painting or meditation or bird watching or pulling weeds or dancing. It's the part that can ask, what happens if I change my pattern response? What happens if I shift my perspective? What happens if I do the same thing I've always done, but this time with more loving awareness? Ram Dass called this place of awareness the ocean of love. He said, I am loving awareness. And this place of awareness is what Ra Uru Hu meant when he said the whole point of human design is self-love. To live from awareness means not identifying with your thoughts, but with the love that sees them. When you wake up and love the air and the sounds and even the aches in your body, you are being love. You are not the story that your mind spins. You are the awareness of the stories. And when you bring love into that awareness, you become love. Albert Einstein said the most important decision we make is whether we believe we live in a friendly or hostile universe, and it relates back to the perception of the experiment. It's why they have to do double-blind experiments, because the person that's watching the experiment will affect the experiment. The perception of the other that will of yourself will affect the outcome. So it's important for your own perspective of your own experiment of life to watch that perspective. So, because all of the decisions we make are rippling through our perception, it's changing how we respond to the not self in the world around us. If you believe the universe is friendly, even your not self becomes a teacher rather than a threat. Yeah, and every discomfort that you lean to and all the pain of your life will start to become an invitation to lean into deeper into love. Deconditioning is not a new concept. It's an ancient practice that's related to alchemy. Alchemy is one of the oldest traditions of transformation on Earth, long before human design was channeled in the 1980s, long before we had language for aura mechanics. Ancient mystics were mapping the invisible process of interchange. Most people today hear alchemy and think of magic potions or trying to turn lead into gold, but alchemy has always been more than that. It's a sacred science that's a philosophy that unites spirit and matter, inner and outer, seen and unseen. It began in Egypt and Greece, where alchemy was a spiritual art by Hermes and translated in the Emerald Tablet, as above, so below. In the Islamic Golden Age, it expanded the knowledge. Medieval Europe added the riddles of kings and dragons. Renaissance brought us texts of death and rebirth. In the 20th century, Carl Jung reintroduced alchemy as a psychology. He recognized the 7 stages of alchemical transformation as symbols of individuation, the soul's return to itself. So, while deconditioning process can be seen in many different schools of thought, human design explains the mechanics of deconditioning in detail by connecting the 7 stages of alchemy to the 7 years of deconditioning. And the deconditioning process is an actual biological fact. In every 7 years, human cells are undergoing a natural process of renewal where old cells are dying and are replaced by new ones. This renewal process provides an opportunity to shed patterns of conditioning that are stored at the cellular level. The conditioning from our mind is stored in the body through repeated patterns, thoughts, and emotional responses, which become imprinted in our cellular memory. These imprints become our unconscious animal patterns, which make it difficult for our authority to drive our vehicle. As we decondition, we lose the weight of these patterns. Our minds surrender to our true direction through a very slow evolutionary process. Deconditioning can feel like an energetic detox as stored fears, insecurities, and behaviors become that are rooted in conditioning are brought to the surface to be seen and then released by making correct decisions through strategy and authority. So every time your mind surrenders to your authority, you are strengthening the alignment to your true self, creating a ripple effect that influences your cells and your energy centers over time. So, human design divides the 7 years of the cellular renewal process into 64 stages, and each stage is roughly 40 days. Those 64 stages correspond to the 64 gates of the I Ching, which are, the 64 gates of human design are related to the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching. Really, the I Ching is an everything. It is the decoder of the program. It was the first divination tool from 5,000 years ago. It's mapped to, in human design, maps it to the astrological field as well as our DNA. So it's the most accurate decoder device that we have in this program. The human design mandala shows how the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching are frequencies that are flowing into each other. The deconditioning process takes you around the wheel of the mandala in 7 years so that you can experience the most actualized version of your true self in this current incarnation. The start date is typically your first human design reading, but deconditioning is also purely a contemplative, subjective experience, so there's no right or wrong answer to this. The shattering doesn't necessarily happen right away, but usually within the first year. And you can start to follow the themes in the deconditioning guide to start understanding what's happening. Um, I created this deconditioning tracker as an easy reference tool for this journey. I'm putting that in chat. Um, so if you aren't sure of the dates, then, of your maybe your first human design reading or whatever, you can put a few dates in there that it could be, and then contemplate on those stages in the guide. And so you can look back. I would look back on some of the key dates of your experience, and count back from your potential current stage to see which energies of those past states feel more resonant. The more you work with this and notice, the more helpful it becomes. You can also book me for a coaching session to help you understand this or walk you through your deconditioning journey. But if this tool becomes a mental distraction, then it is not a helpful tool for you. We are simply going to be utilizing the guide in this talk to help you understand the deconditioning process as a whole. You don't necessarily need to know what stage you're in or what's happening with it. Okay, so now we're going to get into each year of the first 7 years of the deconditioning in human design. So, year one is called. We're going to start. You can first off, I'm going to kind of show you this map here that we're looking at. So this is the mandala, and you can see the 7 years are baked on top of the mandala. And each of the 7 years is has its own sort of label and its own naming convention, and it's related to the Latin name for the alchemical process. And so I'm going to explain the what each stage is and how it works. And you'll also notice that each one of these stages start at a certain gate. So I'll be explaining the theme of that gate as an overlay for the entire year, because that's how the deconditioning guide works. Okay, so year one, we are here in disintegration. And it's called, and the Latin word is called nigredo. And it's also related to the calcination process of alchemy. And it starts over here in gate 3. Nigredo is Latin for blackening. It's the first stage of transformation. It's a descent into the darkness where your old self starts to get broken down. It mirrors the calcination process in alchemy, which is the fiery process of burning away the impurities to reveal the essence. Both this nigredo and calcination are representing chaos before creation, where all forms are dissolving back into the potential. And that is the theme of gate 3, where this energy starts. The first year starts off with gate 3.1, hexagram 3, which is called difficulty at the beginning. It's striving for order and chaos. And so this is the beginning of your path to surrender. The blackening is your not self identity beginning to be seen, beginning to lose its grip on you. And this is the year when your aura begins the alchemical work. It's more of your aura doing the work rather than your mind. You may not be, you might still be living life on the outside exactly the same as if nothing is different, but you might feel an inner unease or chaotic or confusion. For me personally, I started the human design experiment not thinking I was conditioned at all. I thought I wouldn't need 7 years. I thought that was for those people, and I was immediately hooked and my life started reorganizing like mad. And even though I wasn't really aware that that was happening. So, a hint for this process, if you think that you aren't conditioned, you are probably very much conditioned. Okay, year 2. We're over here in education, and it's related to the solutio stage of alchemy or dissolution of alchemy. And it's related, it starts over here in gate 45. And so solutio is Latin for dissolving, where rigid forms are melting into fluids. Dissolution is the process of breaking down calcined matter in water or acid. It's a purification phase where the hardened aspects of the not self begin to dissolve in the waters of awareness. It starts with gate 45 and it starts to dissolve the tribes that you formed in your conditioned state. It's a type of detox that dissolves the chains and cuts the cords um, in the ways that you need them to be cut or dissolved. And which doesn't mean all the way, by the way. It could be just like in the ways that you need them. So it's also beginning to bring in new relationships, new tribes that you get to grow with. You start feeling how others' energies are shaping your life. It's a really watery, emotional year with which is related to the solar plexus. So if you have a defined solar plexus, this year is learning how to watch the waves and feel without reacting immediately. And if you have an undefined solar plexus, it's about letting go of the guilt and not taking on and learning how not to take on other people's emotions. Year two for me is when I started calling in community, joining ecstatic dance. This is when I started Human Design Houston. Um, I started doing aura experiments. I started understanding my emotional authority. I started tracking my emotional authority, and that gave me awareness of my emotional waves. And that's also when I wrote the emotional authority tracking system, which is a process that enabled me to start watching my waves and is available on Amazon. I really recommend it for anybody with the defined solar plexus in their first year or two. So, yeah, year three is over here, the alignment, and it's related to, it's called coagulato. Terrible at Latin, which is also means separation in the alchemical process, and it's related to gate 33, or it starts with gate 33, which is retreat. And so coagulato is Latin for solidifying, and this is where dissolved essence is reforming into purified substance, which is the separation stage in alchemy, which is sifting the gold from the dross. It's a sifting process. It's a beginning of your true inner alignment. Your reality starts to get pruned choicelessly. Your relationships, your habits, your beliefs that don't align start to fall away. Gate 33 is retreat, and so aloneness is going to take on new meaning as the universe edits your story to highlight you and make you the main character. We begin to feel the life force rising from the sacral, whether it's defined or not, and it's guiding us towards our purpose in the G center. This is the year our hara wakes up. Everyone's deconditioning journey is different, but this was the year that I stopped dating. I became vegetarian. I had a spontaneous Kundalini awakening. And it all happened just by following my body. And this was the year I got certified with the IHDS to teach, and I started giving professional human design readings. Okay, year four, we're over here in this stage, and you notice we have this year four is sort of split. You can see there's like a split that happens in year four. And so it's called initiation illuminatio. Illuminatio is the Latin name, or conjunction is the alchemical stage. And it starts with gate 46, which is the love of the body, love of life. Illuminatio means illumination. And it's when merged opposites are they're merging and they're revealing their harmony, their hidden harmony. It's the conjunction process in alchemy, which is merging dualities. So year four is the midpoint of the 7-year journey, where we begin to contain more cells vibrating as the true self than the not self. So year four starts with 46 in the G center, heart chakra, the love of the body. And so if we, yes, Maria, I can answer that question at the end too. Um, uh, if we haven't learned it yet, we are learning, like, if we haven't learned the love of our body yet, we are going to learn it without choice, to let go of expectations and love life as it unfolds. This is the climax of your deconditioning process, where you reach the top of what could be a very difficult mountain. Your mind gets a complete lesson that your authority is in control, and you learn what surrender truly means. Year 4 takes you through the fear gates of the spleen. Any karmic stories that need to be closed come to greet you with fresh eyes. Gate 51 or gate 50 is the exact midpoint of this 7-year cycle where you reach the cellular shift and you cross the border into your own being. So I'm in the last phase of this year 4. And so I've made it through all the fear gates and I'm in gate 1 creative and I'm gearing up for year 5. And I will say that I have had I feel like a hard life, lots of crazy experiences, but year 4 was definitely the hardest I've ever experienced. And it was also my blooming. Literally, it's when I started teaching my Blooming Your Design course and so many other karmic lessons that I learned this year that I'm so grateful for, even though it was extremely painful. And I've written a lot about this year in my blog and other platforms because it's been such a wild ride. I feel like the whole reason that this deconditioning guide was even created was because so many people were noticing the themes that were happening in this year and they needed a way to understand the mechanics. So, let me put it this way. I can now see how conditioned I was and still am. And my mind is baffled about what could be coming, and I have no interest in trying to figure it out. I also truly love my body now, even though I'm not in great shapes by society standards, but I'm not chasing my new form. I know that whatever my next form is, I will be called into it. So, year 5, 6, and 7, I can't really speak from my own experience. So, if you have, I would love if someone who has already gone through these years to add some of their experience as comments. Obviously the first round, your first round of if you're already in like year 21, then like let's just talk about the first 7 years, 5, 6, and 7, if you'd like to share any of your experiences. Get out as comments or we can talk about it during mingling time. But so I'm going to explain what I've learned from the guide and what I've seen in others inside of year 5, 6, and 7. So for me, it might look totally different, and for you, it might look totally different. All of this stuff. So, year 5 is called quickening. It's the Latin term related to the Latin term of multiplicatio, and which is related to fermentation in alchemy. It starts with gate 43. The one track mind is the actual line that it starts. Multiplicatio is Latin for multiplication, where our awakened truth is generating its own momentum and spreading through all of the areas of our life. It's related to fermentation and alchemy, where organic matter is quickening and transmutes like yeast is transforming sugar into wine. Year 5 starts with gate 43, which is the gate of breakthrough and insight. And it's also known as the inner ear, the voice of the muse. This is where our higher knowing comes not from logic, but from silence and epiphany. During this year is how we relate to both energy and money. It gets rewired. How we are relating to energy and money becomes rewired. This is the year where your transformation becomes visible. It could show up in material shifts or energetic shifts. Either way, you're learning how to live in your alignment with your authority. You also have to learn how to live as an awakened being in a world where others are still asleep. And with awakening comes responsibility, humility, grace, and forgiveness. Your change didn't come because you hired the right guru or took the right course or ate the right foods or visited that amazing retreat or got all those treatments or whatever it is you think that you've been sold to believe. You changed because the patterns of your mind have changed with awareness. So, year 6 is called awakening, and it's related to the Latin term rubedo, the distillation process in alchemy. It starts with gate 38, gate 38. Um, and so rubedo is Latin for reddening, where the purified essence is reaching its final form. And it's mirroring this distillation process of alchemy, refining a substance, refining the substance through repeated purification until only the core remains. Um, Year 6 starts with gate 38.5, which is fighting for something, not against something. And it's the year of a luminous inner fire, of final heat that fuses all your transformation into one radiant whole. You become strong in who you are and feel peace about it, not defiant. The aroma of your essence is released, of your unique essence is released, and the aroma that you release depends on the ingredients that you've been cooking. Not everyone is going to resonate, some will resist, others will be drawn closer, but either way, your aim for year 6 is to stay committed to your authority. Year 7 is your integration. It's called Kunishio, related to coagulation in alchemy, and it starts with gate 55, selfishness. The end of gate 55, which is called selfishness, which is what a lot of people perceive self-love to be. Conutio is Latin for sacred unit, sacred union. The alchemist becomes the stone with no separation between wisdom and action. It's related to coagulation, which is where the distilled essence is taking physical form, where lead becomes finally gold, is basically that stage. And you being you begins to illuminate others. Year seven begins with gate 55, which is the integration of the spirit, where your spiritual awareness of the solar plexus becomes realized, and we're no longer victims of the emotional wave. And this is the shift that humanity is collectively making in 2027. It's the marriage between spirit and form, masculine, feminine, heaven, and earth. It's when the integration of our duality becomes permanent and our aura radiates authenticity, without needing to try or do anything. So, understanding this journey enables your mind to watch itself with compassion and presence, which enables you to experience your truth more and more. So, just keep coming back to your perspective and ask if you're looking at the world from a place of loving awareness. Remind yourself, I am loving awareness. I am aware of everything. I'm aware of my body, my senses, my mind. I am aware of all of it. I notice that I'm loving all of it. I'm loving all the world, even if it seems unlovable. My not self judges everything as it relates to my own survival. I'm always afraid of something in the world that I have to defend myself against. But if I merge with love, there's nothing to be afraid of. When you can accept that kind of love, you can give that kind of love, and you can give love to all you perceive. Yeah, and thoughts are terribly seductive. You don't have to identify with them. You identify not with the thoughts, but with the awareness of the thoughts. To bring loving awareness to everything you turn into your awareness is to be love. This moment is love. The now is infinite. I am loving awareness. The not self is reminder to move back to you, to see the dirt, to refocus on our clear water, which is what's true about you, what you get to find out over time. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there's any excellence, if there's anything worthy of praise, think about those things. Okay.